Today on the channel, we're going to be taking a look at the Super Console Arcade Stick from Ken Hank. This is a unique 2-in-1 arcade setup. Comes in two unique colors. You got gray and black. But basically, this is a fully functional arcade stick that also duals as a emulation console in itself. So you can essentially just plug this into your TV, play all your favorite old school arcade games directly from the joystick itself. Or if you don't like that, you can plug it into a PC, a PlayStation 3, a PlayStation 4, use it as an arcade stick that way. So this is what it looks like. You might be thinking to yourself, that looks somewhat familiar. Doesn't somebody like 8-Bit Do make a similar product? And yeah, you're right, they do. In fact, for comparison, here is the 8-Bit Do joystick. Now, they are not clones by any means, but they are very similar in their form, factor, shape, and setup. Both have unique 8-button lineups. You got your R3, L3 buttons up top. It's called Player 1 and Player 2 over here on the 8-Bit Do. This one has a different setup as far as the left-hand corner up here with different functionalities and options, but for the most part, they are very similar. This is actually a little bit lighter than the 8-Bit Do joystick, and like I said, this is a 2-in-1. It has all the built-in emulation games inside of it. So on the micro SD card here, you got over 50,000 retro video games. You've got your Ethernet port, your HDMI out, your power, USB-C, as well as your headphone adapter over here and a USB 3.0 jack. Inside the box it comes with a power adapter brick, instruction manual dictating how you can go from playing this on a PC, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, or just how to navigate and use the menu options and the extended buttons like turbo and mode and stuff like that on the joystick itself. Also comes with two extra Sanwa style buttons. They have these little plastic protector films on the top of them, which I guess is nice to keep them nice and shiny, not scratched. However, one gripe I had was there was also a plastic protector over this shiny black piece. However, they put the plastic protector down, then they put the buttons down. So when you try to peel that plastic, it is an absolute nightmare. And as you can see, I still can't get the little bits and pieces out in between the nooks and crannies of the buttons. You can operate on this. You essentially take the two screws out here, and there's 4 hidden screws underneath each of these soft pads, and then you can open up the joystick and arcade and operate and change out preferred buttons if you don't like these. These aren't Sanwa buttons, but they're Sanwa clones. Nice, clicky, good feeling buttons. Joystick itself, not my personal preference. I prefer octagonal gates. So again, you can open it up and change out the restrictor gates on there. You can put a authentic Sanwa joystick in here if you wish. The JLF would fit in here nicely. HAP joysticks unfortunately will not fit in here, so keep that in mind. You also get a USB-C cable, HDMI cable, a USB-A to USB-C adapter, because you can also plug this into like an Android phone and use this as an Android joystick if you wish. And speaking of Android, there's another SD card where you can pop out, put it in here, and boot this up into the Android operating system, so you can download Android games, play it on the joystick, or if you wanted to add Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, that type of thing to the internal workings, you could do that. I don't think anybody's going to use that, so we're honestly just going to ignore that. And same thing, here's an Android remote that helps you navigate menus if you don't want to use the joystick. But again, I don't think anybody's really buying this to play Android games on it. So let's go ahead and plug it in, power it up, and see what it looks like. All right, and here we have the emulation portion of the arcade stick going. Got a nice little pretty user interface. Got all your consoles and systems over here, scrolling wheel. Got nice video animations and, displays and everything. Everything's broken up by not only console but by system. So you got CPS 1, 2, and 3. The biggest drawback of this entire system, in my opinion, is the amount of duplicate files. This is something that always drives me crazy. Basically what they've done is they've dumped every version of a ROM, whether it be American, European, Japanese, and if there's 2-player versions, 4-player versions, 6-player, etc., you get the gist. There's every variation, so weeding through some of these game lists sometimes becomes problematic. CPS 3 is not an issue, but when you start getting into like CPS 2, you'll see they're just gobs and gobs of variations of the same game over and over and over and over and over again. And that's kind of a recurring theme throughout this. It says there's over 50,000 games on this file system, and technically, yeah, there's over 50,000 files, but there's not 50,000 games. So as you can see, it says 50,109 games, but other than that, that is honestly the only real drawback. Emulation performance is really good. Where this kind of caps out is PSP. A lot of these games are running at half speed with frame skip enabled, so you're getting 30 frames per second. It looks fine. It's not ideal. It's not, you know, 100% accurate performance, but it'll get you through. You can play those games. PlayStation works great. All your arcade titles work great. Neo Geo, Sega Naomi, and Atomiswave also work great as well. Sega Dreamcast, another great performing one. Good game listings overall. So you just go ahead and pick the category you want. You scroll through, pick the game you want, and you'll go ahead and get started. You can do individual or universal settings. So say I wanted to change King of the Fighters. So say I wanted to go in here and advanced game options. I could change the emulator or the aspect ratio. So maybe you want it widescreen. You could go ahead and change it to any kind of aspect ratio you want. The bezel, the art that goes on the sides, if you've got a 4:3 or something like that, you can turn that on or off. So you can just have a plain black frame, or you can have the art that they have included. And you can do all these settings globally as well. So you'd hit the start up here on the top, and you'd go into your game settings, your user interface settings. Very easy to use, very familiar for anybody that's seen a lot of these reviews that I've done of these typical Emulation Station setup. It's identical. You can add different controllers, you can reconfigure all your game button inputs, things like that, which is great. The joystick itself feels good. No real issues with the buttons. The joystick itself, I would 100% switch out into an octagonal restrictor gate inside, but let me show you some emulation and then we can talk about the final thoughts.
Naomi, second down. Good fight, Irene. Third down. One, two. Rolling. Overhead. On the glass. Off the glass. G splice. G splice.
Alright, so when it's all said and done, this Ken Hank arcade stick is actually a pretty good value. You get not only a functional arcade joystick that you can use on your PC, your PlayStation 3, your PlayStation 4, Android phone, or Raspberry Pi, or whatever you want to use, it also has that built-in functionality of having the Emulation Front End, as well as all these games preloaded on it, which is super convenient. Downsides are if you're going to use the built-in, emulation games as a console, you will be relegated to having an HDMI cable as well as your power cable running out of the back of the joystick at all times. So if you're wanting to sit on the couch and the couch is 12 feet away from your screen, that's obviously not going to work out great for you. However, if you're sitting at a computer desk, you got a monitor or something like that, then it's going to be a-okay for you. If you're playing on a PC, obviously you don't have to mess with the HDMI cable. You wouldn't have to really mess with the power cable. You just basically use the USB-C port and then you plug it into your PC that way. So not as constricting that way, but overall, pretty impressed with it. It feels, you know, nice build quality. I like the fact that you can crack it open, change out the buttons and the joystick if you wish. So it makes it, again, pretty versatile. I just do wish they would have shipped it with a different restrictor gate inside for the joystick. And other than that, pretty happy with it. The user interface looks great. It just, again, I wish they would stop throwing all those extra unnecessary files on there and having it bloated to where it says 50,000 games, when in reality there's maybe 6,000 games on here. It makes navigating an absolute pain in the butt, but that is it for this video review. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit that like button. Share this video with your friends if you found the information helpful. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. It really means a lot.